All right, cool. Looks like we're live. Alrighty then. So we're gonna flip this camera around. You see the flat camera flipping around button. Michael is going to be our cameraman today. And today we're gonna be doing something a little bit different. Normally, I do live streams about 3D printing and things of that nature. But this time, we're going to do something a little bit different. I can open this plastic, man. Holy crap.
Do you need a little help?
No. I got this.
Are you sure?
Positive.
I'll bring up the video on my phone so I can bring up the live chat.
Bring up the.
Let's not create a feedback loop here.
Not trying to.
Okie doke.
All right.
My workshop area is cluttered to crap right now, but that is the life of someone who designs stuff and makes stuff constantly.
And we're a group of multiple hobbies.
Yeah, it just never ends. But we have got ourselves this Dr. Crafty resin kit because I made myself a 3-part mold for the things that I plan on doing some casting with. And the reason I'm doing it is because I have something that I make that I 3D print and sell a lot of. But I would like to make it faster to produce, but also maintain a higher level of quality if possible. So there's a few options I could have gone with. One of them would have been injection molding, but that's expensive. It's very expensive. A little above my pay grade. So we've been trying some mold techniques, and one of the things we first started out doing, and you may have seen the video on my channel involving this, my vacuum chamber pot for degassing silicone. And I had some good success with that. I even made a silicone version of the thing that I make using the 3-piece mold. But I don't want to make it out of silicone. No, what I want to do is make it out of resin, a nice hard plastic. The question is, can I use a 3D printed mold to cast that resin in? Because resin creates an exothermic reaction, which is really hot. Some resins, when you mix them together, get upwards of 200 degrees Celsius, which is, no, I'm sorry, 100 degrees Celsius. My bad. Which is the glass transition temperature of ABS. Now, there are slower casting resins that don't get as hot. I don't know how hot this one's gonna get, because the hotter the resin, the faster the casting process is. So there's ways you could slow it down, but it's not very economical. So what we're going to do is take my 3-piece mold and kind of situate it to the side for a moment, because much like the silicone, we also need to degas the resin. And we have a working time of about 40 minutes. However, there
45.
is 45, but there's another thing called pot time for this, and it's not specified, at least not clearly. I mean, I could read it here. I don't see a pot time, and basically the pot time is.
Here, you want to hand me the hardener?
Well, I'm looking at it.
Where's the book it came with?
It doesn't say the pot time, which is important because that's how much time we have to more or less degas this stuff before it starts to harden. Because once it starts to harden, it's going to be a problem to work with. Let's see. Large projects, you can mix a maximum of 3 kilograms of resin and hardener at once. Yeah, well, that's a lot of resin.
How much is this? Do we have here?
Well, what we have is 16 ounces of resin. It doesn't say the weights, although we do have a scale. You can pick up that scale down there. Apparently it fell on the ground.
Yep, I'll try doing that without bouncing into the camera.
We got something over here. I don't know what this is.
Oh, that is for, from what I saw on Amazon when we bought this, it is for helping smooth it out.
Mm.
When you go to, if you were to do the resin on like hard surfaces and that, like wood.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you can use this for, like, you see those projects where they have a big, like, cutout in a piece of wood and they cover it with resin. Yeah, this is for smoothing that out. We're not going to be doing that, so away with the.
Or if you're making a bar top.
So we got about 300 grams, 308 with the bottle. I'm going to call it at around, I'm going to say comfortably 250 because you got to subtract the bottle. Don't know how much the bottle weighs. So how much I actually need for this project, I don't know.
Do we have enough?
Well, we're about to find out. We're going to mix 50 milliliters in each of these because it's a 1-to-1 ratio, I believe. Just checking. Yep, equal parts, 1-to-1. Get rid of the air. It says it takes 72 hours to fully cure, so our pot time might be the 45 minutes, which
Andrew,
that's a pretty slow one.
from TSC Miles, I've known you from the whole furry video era, been years.
Oh man, that has been a while. That whole part of my life has been interesting, although not much going on in that. COVID, can't do anything about that. Anyway, 50 milliliters. We're going to do, well, it's measured, so by volume, not by weight. Haha. With the silicone, I had to do it by weights. One of our friends works at a place where they do a lot of research and development, and for whatever reason, they have a lot of leftover materials of some really cool stuff.
Very expensive stuff.
Yeah, and whenever he's like, "Hey, you want this random R&D equipment?" and I'm like, "Yes, I would like that random research and development equipment very much so, because otherwise, I would be breaking my bank." So let's see now. We gotta start doing the thing. You want to bring the camera closer over here so kind of see what we're doing.
Yep.
Gonna want to lower the camera itself.
Okay.
All right. Getting a good view of all of this stuff right here.
Yep.
Okay. So let's start with part A. Oh, we gotta break the seal. Break the seal. Is there a pull tab? No, there's not.
I was going to ask if you wanted a knife.
Yeah.
I use this thing like almost every day now. My new knife.
All right, man. A good utility knife or a good just EDC tool in general is always worth it. Ooh, this stuff is thick. Ooh, this is thicker than I thought it was gonna be. Heyo.
We may need a lot more.
Probably, but we won't know exactly until we experiment a little bit here. Okay. That is 50 milliliters of part A. Part B, the catalyst, is also going to be 50 milliliters. I'm going to poke this and get it open. Come on. There we go. All right. Wear gloves. We're doing science. The catalyst is a little thinner, but not as thin. Okay. We've got 50 milliliters of the catalyst. Now, all we got to do...
Hold on. Did it come with a another container or not?
Nope. This is all we got. So now we're going to mix part A into part B. It came with some sticks to help mix the goo. Mix the goo. Mix the goo. I don't know, can you see, are my hands in the way of all this?
Yeah, just a little.
You should have told me. Well, anywho. All right, now that we got it together, we gotta mix it all up. And by mixing it, we are introducing air into the concoction, which is no bueno. So that's why we're going to degas the mixture. And in order to degas it, in other words, get rid of the boublés, we need to use a vacuum chamber. Now then, this is kind of a small container. My guess is we're going to have a bit of a time degassing. We're going to have to take the camera and look upwards, like take it off of the...
Stand.
Yep. So, we're going to put our lid on top of here and close the valve, and we're going to create a vacuum. There we go. Now look down into here, because that's what we're going to see. Don't block my view entirely here.
And don't mind if we get a little bit of smoke.
It's actually perfectly normal for a vacuum pump to have that condensation come out like that. So basically what it looks like is almost like it's boiling. And that's because there is a vacuum pulling any gas in that mixture up and out of the resin. And thankfully, unlike silicone, it doesn't seem to be rising all that much, which makes this a whole lot easier. Because silicone, when you mix that, the part A and B together and degas it, that stuff rises like a cake. Oop, we're getting a little bit of rising here. We got to catch some equilibrium, kind of manually work the release valve.
Oh.
I know, I see it. You got to get it to kind of like a state of equilibrium. When you're degassing silicone, that stuff could basically double in volume for a very short amount of time. So you need to have a lot of headroom in your mixing bowl to make sure you don't spill over into your pot for degassing. But this is really important that we do this, otherwise there would be a bunch of bubbles inside of our resin mold after it's cured. And that wouldn't look nice. That would be, well, no bueno. I don't exactly know how long this procedure will take, but it seems to be going along quite nicely. I think I can increase the vacuum a little bit more. All right, we've got the valve shut completely to create as much of the vacuum as we can. Basically, once the bubbles more or less are almost gone, or it stops bubbling up like that, then we'll know we've degassed the mixture to a sufficient level. And we're just about there. This isn't a whole lot to mix, which is nice. It's a lot easier to mix than silicone too. That stuff is like super thick and gooey. And it's the mixing port stuff, part A and B, when they're separate, they just, it gets everywhere and it's an absolute nightmare to clean.
Does it?
Oh God, yes. You need to use an alcohol-based solvent to really get rid of it on anything. And it's just a pain in the butt to get rid of once it's all over. Now, if you mix the part A and B together of silicone, then it will harden into silicone, and then it's really easy to remove. But if it's not actually mixed together, it's just like slimy goo, just kind of all over the place. And we're almost done degassing here. The bubbles have just about stopped. Let me give it just another like 10 seconds or so, I think would be fine. We're not aiming for perfection on our first run. And I think that's about good. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the vacuum, and we are going to slowly bring pressure back into the pressure pot, or the vacuum chamber, I should say. The pressure pot's actually different. The pressure pot has a lot of legitimate uses for molds as well. Don't want to go too fast, otherwise you could the rushing air could get all in the mixture and spill it all over the place. And haha, we have our degassed epoxy resin. Now, this is the mold of the thing that I made, and I have two cones basically built into it. One so that I can pour the resin into, and the other so that air can escape as I pour it in, so it's not like gurgling out of a single vent hole. Now, can you actually see what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, never done this before with resin. Ooh, gotta be careful. Don't want to go too fast. I gotta go at kind of a metered pace here when I actually look inside what I'm pouring into here.
Okay, yes. Ah!
So this is what's going on. This is why we have two holes. So any air that gets displaced just exits the other side. If this was silicone, I would have to actually inject it because silicone mix is so thick. But epoxy resin is much, much thinner. So I'm not having that problem. Thankfully. I have a feeling I will need to make more than 100 milliliters. I could have tried to figure out the displacement of this mold prior, but I didn't have any sort of measuring bowl that was big enough to fit, or I could actually do that. So I just kind of said YOLO.
Sorry, people. I'm just a little awkward for me with holding the camera.
Dun, dun, dun. Keep it going. We've also got it kind of on an angle here, which helps a little bit with distributing everything as evenly as possible. When it gets to the point where it's actually full, it'll start coming out of this fill hole right here. But I have a feeling we're not going to reach that point for a little while. So the difference is if this mold works, right, it'll be a matter of an hour, maybe two, to make one of the things that I print a lot versus the 18 hours it usually takes to print each individual product. So that's a pretty big improvement, especially if I use harder or faster curing resins. That process just goes even faster. But again, so the exothermic reaction created from mixing resin can get super hot, and unfortunately that could, in theory, mess this mold up because it's made of plastic. Now, some resins that are fast curing get upwards of 100 degrees Celsius, which if you were to use a mold made of PLA, well, PLA's glass transition temperature is 50 degrees Celsius. So you would end up doing something bad to the mold, and you probably wouldn't get a good result. But this is ABS, which their glass transition temperature of this is 100 degrees Celsius, which is right at that edge. So I don't think it was 200 on the hottest ones, but I don't know. I forget. I'd have to see, because some resins do get super hot. And typically you would use silicone for using this sort of thing for making the mold. You'd have the mold made of silicone. Now, I could do that, but that presents a few challenges given the geometry of the thing we're trying to create. So that's why I haven't used it. Granted, the silicone I have access to is Shore 20A, which is really flexible stuff. Unfortunately, Shore 20A is just too flexible for my purposes. And it definitely looks like we're going to need to make another batch of this here good stuff. So we're gonna
Put it back on the mount.
Yep. Let's see, is this part A? Yes, this is part A. We're going to mix it in the part A bowl. We're once again going to do 50 milliliters. There we go.
And if you have any questions for Andrew or have anything to say, I'm here at the helm for him. So fire away.
All right, and this bowl is all gobbledygook. I think I see the fill line for 50. There we go. I'm going to cap part B back off, and we're going to mix part A together. We're going to take a new stick, because the other stuff is already mixed together with both part A and part B. I don't want to have the part A cup mix. I just want part A to only be part A. Otherwise, we're going to have resin built up in both cups, and that's just twice as much to clean. Da, 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 da. Okay. There we go. Then
Stir on up.
mix the mixture. Do a little bit of science. And then we got to degas it again. Every time you mix something, you got to degas it. Otherwise, the bublés get all up in there. Just got to keep an eye on it so we don't boil over and spill our mixture into the vacuum chamber.
And for any new people that are on, that smoke is normal.
It's not even smoke; it's vapor. So when you're pulling the moisture out like that on a vacuum system, it just does that. I was a little concerned at first when I saw that, but I googled it, and apparently that's completely normal. All right, we're starting to get that boiling kind of situation going on. I mean, you want to look inside here, you know, well, it's something to look at instead of just, that way they're not just looking at a random pot.
Yep.
It's all the air that was mixed in there that got in the mixture when we were stirring it. We got to make sure we don't let it boil over to a point where it falls out into our vacuum chambers, because that's going to be a pain to clean. Silicone is one thing, but hardened epoxy resin, I don't even know where to begin to clean that. Try and manually get this to a point of equilibrium. Let's see if we can do a higher vacuum pressure. Is it higher or lower? I don't know how you technically denote more vacuum.
I think when you create a vacuum, you increase the pressure, but lower the amount of air you have. So
No, it's not increasing pressure. We're going into negative pressure. But increasing the negative pressure, I guess that makes sense.
ah, ow!
Nice. We are almost fully degassed. Getting close. Give it another 30 seconds or so.
Ooh, that's gonna leave a bruise tomorrow.
It
It came down right on my. It was my own phone.
Oh, it fell on your foot?
Yeah, right on my big toe, right at the knuckle,
Nice.
and it came down corner first. Oh, that's gonna hurt.
Well, that sucks. But we're almost degassed.
Yep. When I pull the phone away and put it on the mount, I'm grabbing my phone from the floor.
I'd say,
Yeah, that's about it.
it's only a few bubbles coming up. I think we've got a good enough degassing.
Now, phone back up so I can grab my phone. God, my foot hurts.
Now, be careful. We are doing science. We don't want to release the vacuum too quickly.
Sorry, that's a ear rape on you guys.
Well, let's try not using that type of language. Anywho, we have now got our second batch of our mixture, so we're going to go ahead and start pouring this again. It's coming out nice and smooth. Now, ideally, if this works, next time we do it, we're going to add a dye to it to make it the color that I actually want. But I need to see if it works at all, which is the whole point of this.
And for reference, here's the color.
That's the thing we're trying to make. Granted, that one's a failed print. And that's a hardcore layer shift on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't.
That was probably your printer that made that one.
Well,
The binding on the y-axis on your printer has been a pain in the butt to deal with.
I think we had that fixed. So
For the most part, it's kind of a workaround fix. Although I'm curious, Foncier now makes the dual y-axis system much like the ones we got from Printer Mods. And I'm curious to try that out because I have a feeling Foncier did it better, quite honestly.
Well,
No worries, order from AliExpress and see. Which I do have that compression fitting coming in from AliExpress. It's in the country. It's just waiting to get to me from within the country. Come over and take a look.
okay.
So we're back online.
Yeah, it says you're live. Sorry about that, guys.
All right, my cameraman's sometimes a bit of a dunce. Okay, so look at these two holes, right? So if I keep pouring in one hole, you can see it starting to come out of this hole a little bit. And that's how you know we're just about full. And what we're going to do is kind of level it out here. We'll put something like this. Something a little less thick. This booklet might actually be the ticket. There we go. That's more or less about right. And with that, we have figured out that we need to use, let's see how much resin is left. All right, there's 50 milliliters of resin, so we made 200 milliliters of resin because we have 100 plus 100, so we need to make 100. We need to make 150 total, so 75 milliliters of each to make this. So leftover epoxy. I don't know what we could use this for, but we've got like 20 minutes to figure out what it is we want to use it for. Huh.
Do we have like a sacrificial piece of wood we can just put it on?
A piece of wood?
Yeah, we could see what it looks like. Oh, there's like a 2x4 over there.
Yeah. My phone drops. I'm going to be so angry at you.
I know.
Got leftover resin. Might as well use it for something.
Sacrificial wood.
Wood. I mean,
Well, we can at least see what it looks like.
I don't know how you plan for me to play. There needs to be like a crevice in the wood. There we go. There's a small crevice right here. Oh man, it's gonna be a mess. Hold on, You've messed up my leveling, Mike.
Uh-oh.
What have you done, Michael?
Nothing that you probably wouldn't have done the first time around?
Wouldn't have done that. I don't know who did it. Well, I don't know. Let's pour some resin into here, I guess.
Or here. We could take this out and just smooth it across.
Go ahead and take it out, and we'll smooth it across. Fill up this tiny crevice in this wood with resin, because I don't know what else to do with it. Wait, what?
I don't know.
I mean, we're just
From
being dumb now.
Fanyan, scrap fabric soaked in epoxy makes cool stuff called micarta, M-I-C-A-R-T-A.
Didn't Jeff want to epoxy his fish tank stand?
I think so.
If he ever even gets around to finishing that stand, and then
But we'll have to look into that micarta. We'll have to look into that. Because we have some scrap fabric.
yeah, I mean, there's a few things you could use epoxy for. I mean, this is clear epoxy, so it'll come out as like nice and like transparent. But
Yeah, that actually looks pretty cool.
I mean, I don't know why this is any better than spar urethane. For what? I mean, I guess if you're covering up a crevice and you're just filling it.
Or you make it a bar top and you want to make it easy to clean. You would use the resin to make the hard top, so it's easier to clean and the water can't soak into the wood.
Well, that's what spar urethane is for. I don't know why you would use resin for that.
Oh, but
I mean, I feel like there's something. But you know what? Hold on. Hold on. We got the.
Isn't this the last one you made over here?
No, maybe.
Micarta is commonly used in knife handles. Ooh, that actually sounds pretty cool.
Let's just fill. This is not the negative. This is the positive. Now, hold on. Let's look at the flashing. Let's try this one. Let's just see what happens when we fill silicone with resin.
Well, if we make some micarta for the knife handles, you know what? That might be a pretty cool little project.
Yeah, it's spilling over. Oh, God. I'm making a mess. There's too much science going on.
Andrew, you are a mess.
Speak for yourself.
Huh?
I don't know what the point
Oh,
is.
it's coming out the bottom.
Oh, no. The science is going critical. Yep. Oh, boy.
Well, just
Towels, please.
towels.
Yeah, you know what? Screw the towels. This is going inside of my bucket of science.
Oh, God.
The science bucket.
I want to say things, but I don't know if it's friendly.
How about you just keep your thoughts to yourself? Because tries to be a family-friendly channel. Tries to be. And, you know, this is why they came with gloves, because good golly gosh.
Fanyan, epoxy is also commonly used to make more rotten wood stronger, usually using a vacuum chamber to pull the epoxy into the wood.
Oh, snap. That's kind of cool.
We are going to need a bigger vacuum chamber.
Man, vacuum chambers are expensive. This 1.5 gallon vacuum chamber was $75.
Well, looks like we might have to build a vacuum chamber.
Bruh, no.
What?
I'd rather just buy one that's made by a company that does it. You know? It's a vacuum chamber. So, anywho, the main thing we actually want to worry about.
I'll put this to the side.
Yeah, let's get this random piece of wood.
Hey, you
Down
know,
here.
we wanted to use up the.
Yeah, the main thing we're worried about is our mold, which very much needs to sit relatively level. So this stuff has got a work time around 40 minutes and a curing time total of up to 72 hours. Now, again, a lot of this stuff depends on the ambient temperature where it's hardening in. It's pretty cold down here in my basement workshop, and it's probably going to take a while, but that's more or less our first foray into resin casting. And let's see, we used maybe like a little less than half of the bottles. And we did make more than we needed to. Now that we know the actual volume of the piece, which I probably could have calculated that in Cura, but man,
Really?
I think so. I think Cura does have a mode to tell you the volume of,
Oh.
of a piece. I have to look it up. I did ask about that once on Reddit, and someone did say it's possible. I don't know if they said it was in Cura that does it, but anywho. This stuff says no VOCs, but I don't know if I believe that. It is kind of smelly up in here now. So, yeah, thanks for joining us on that.
You'd be surprised what it can be used for. I have taken random rotten wood pieces to make small pieces that a friend makes custom pens with.
Oh, hey, that's kind of neat. I mean, hey, we're experimenting with so many different types of manufacturing now. We're expanding out from just 3D printing. We're going into silicone molding, injection molding, possibly, resin casting on top of 3D printing. We're also going to be getting into subtractive manufacturing once we get a CNC router. I'm planning on getting that hopefully soon. It really depends on my budget at the time, because we really don't want to get a cheap CNC router, because, man, that's just not going to be fun. But the barrier to entry is not too high. It is high enough that I have to make considerations for what it is I'm going to buy and when. But nevertheless, there's going to be more fun stuff on this channel involving various types of home manufacturing. And a lot of it does still have to do with 3D printing, because that's my main form of doing stuff. And at some point, I'm going to see if I can make a flexible mold out of a 3D print using NinjaFlex, which NinjaFlex has a Shure 85 rating, which, in terms of filament, that is the most limp spaghetti you can get out of a filament, but it is considerably harder than the Shure 20A silicone that I'm used to working with that you mix together. So I'm curious to see how well that works, but we're trying solid molds first and seeing where that goes.
Fonium says awesome sauce.
Yes, the sauce will be extra awesome with a dash of strange, because it's all new to me, but you're never going to learn if you don't try. If you never try, well, then what are you doing? Get out there. Get messy. Try new things. Don't stay stagnant. Learn something new every day, especially if you're looking to do something new. But anywho, that'll do it for this stream. Next stream, I'm hoping that I will actually be getting back to the stuff on AliExpress with 3D printer parts. But next stream, when I do that, and I'll actually announce it, I will be trying to help people fix their 3D printer issues. So if you have a 3D printer issue, take a video of it, and my next live stream, well, a proper one up at the computer, I'll take a look at the video and see if I can't diagnose your 3D printer problems, and maybe we can fix it together.
So Fanian has a suggestion. Harder silicone will hold up better, but more limited in mold designs.
Yep, definitely true. So we're going to have to experiment. That's why we're going to try NinjaFlex. In order to do NinjaFlex, you're best using a direct drive system. We do have an E3D Chimera available to us, but I don't know. We don't currently have a frame built to use it at the moment. We might be modifying one of the printers that we have down here to use the Chimera properly, but for right now, everything's Bowden drive. So we're playing with the idea, but we're going to see if this works first. Anywho, we're going to end the stream here, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.
The X?
Yeah, I think one of them says end stream or something like that.
Yep, there we go.